Hi, my name is Callie Hofer, and I read the article about the genocide in Sudan. So, in Darfur, the dominant group was the Arabs, and the persecuted groups were the Fur, Masalit, and the Zaghawa. The Fur is one of the largest groups. The Masalit, there was a lot of killings with that, sexual violence and destruction, and the Zaghawa, that was the most targeted group, and they were killed at many checkpoints throughout this. So this conflict started because of the government. It was driven by political, economic, and there were also many different factors. Another factor was just this environmental stress, which caused there to be entitlement during this all. The violence was targeted to marginalize the groups, and they wanted to solidify Arab supremacy. Also, on top of all of this, there were a lot of historical factors with this. So this didn't necessarily come during this time, but a lot of different things caused this to happen just from the past. With the ethnic cleansing, I think it can be appropriate to put this to it just because ethnic cleansing is the forced removal of an ethnic group, and that is exactly what happened during this. They were removing people because of different things, so I would say that ethnic cleansing could be associated with this, I would say. So this all started in 2003. There were a lot of fighting from 2003 to 2008, but the most fighting that they saw was from 2005 to 2008. But those first 2 years of it, there were still a lot of fighting, but then in 2005 to 2008, it really started again with a lot more fighting. So there were at least 300,000 deaths, and there were displacements for over 2 million people, close to 3 million people. And there were many murders during this. It just happened with it. The other crimes that they experienced, there were a lot of attacks. I think that the attacks came with things not going a certain way. They resorted to attacking. There was sexual violence. That was kind of with like the Masalits. But there was sexual violence. So again, I'm sure if something didn't go a certain way, they turned to things like that to probably honestly try and get more people to leave. There was destruction of neighborhoods, homes, people, families. There was just destruction through it all to try and get their point across of what they were trying to accomplish. And then obviously there was forced displacement. There was a lot of displacement, and this displacement caused a lot of all of these factors that I've listed. So like the attacks, the sexual violence, the deconstruction came from a lot of the forced displacement. So the expulsion in this was the forced removal from this land. The segregation was the displaced people going into camps and groups. This was segregation because obviously segregation is splitting and dividing. The genocide, it was just a large killing that targeted ethnic groups. And the acculturation, there wasn't much of it, but there was some pressure on people. And the strongest ones that they experienced was expulsion and genocide. So many people went to different places to get away. I read a lot of different articles, and there were just a lot of different numbers with them because of the last update. So there was over 2 million displaced, but it was very close to 3 million displacements during this time. And a lot of people went to surrounding areas. They went to Chad, Ethiopia, Egypt. I think some even went to South Sudan to try and escape this. So the United States and Canada also financed some needs here. And the African Union United Nations mission, they were the primary leader to keep people safe. And the aid groups there helped provide food, medical care, support. And now the most significant takeaway from this is that this showed that ethnic identities can be constructed and manipulated for political power, for just some of the other things I listed. It can be jeopardized for things like this. It was significant to me because the groups were almost similarly very close racially, religiously. So it just kind of shows that it can happen, and it does happen, to try and get success out of it. And they were close and they turned it against each other. They showed a lot of inequality, a lot of environmental stress with all this destruction, not knowing what was going to happen, just all of this, just a lot of environmental stress, a lot of stress on people. And this relates back to the beginning, but there was also a lot of political problems. That is one of the reasons of it. So a lot of these political problems really came out showing during this whole thing. So my biggest takeaway was that it can happen. Like things that you think shouldn't make something happen or make a problem, it can. And obviously learning about this, it did. So yes, my biggest takeaway was how different things can still lead to certain outcomes.